Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel. Thanks for stopping in today. So in today's video, we're going to be talking about signs that a career in psychology might be right for you. Now, obviously choosing a profession can be really tough, and it's also a really important decision because whatever profession you choose in life, that's hopefully going to be with you for a really long time. And my profession is psychology. I have a PhD in psychology, I work in psychology, and I was kind of thinking to myself, well, I know a lot about this field, and what might be some signs that a person is really right for this field? Basically, what are some indicators that psychology might be something that you could really enjoy as a long-term profession? So sign number one that a career in psychology might be right for you is that you are interested in the subject material. And this might seem kind of obvious, but if you're not actually interested in the subject of psychology, or basically the science of how people think, feel, and behave, then you're probably not going to actually enjoy working in psychology. So if you are one of those people where you've always just been fascinated with how other people think, maybe why they do the things that they do, if you're curious about yourself, maybe you're not really sure why you always do the things that you do. Maybe you just have a lot of questions about why people are the way that they are. Well, I mean, that's what psychology is all about, right? Psychologists study things like, obviously, mental health, but also things like behavior and personality and relationships and neuroscience, right? There's a field called neuropsychology, which is basically the connection between neuroscience and how people think, feel, and behave. So there's all these different aspects of psychology that you would probably find pretty interesting. I find that psychology is a subject that tends to attract a lot of different types of people because, well, we are people, so a lot of people just have sort of a natural interest in understanding why people are the way that they are. So if that sounds like something that interests you, then psychology might be, at the very least, a subject that you should look into and possibly even pursue as a profession. Now, this could be, like I mentioned, more of an interest in understanding mental health and basically when things go wrong, so mental health disorders, but many psychologists also just expand the profession by doing research in various areas of how people think, feel, and act. So it does not necessarily have to be an interest in mental health, although I will say that many individuals who go into psychology specifically are interested in understanding mental health. So the second indicator that psychology might be a good career choice for you is that you genuinely want to help people. So I will say that kind of the primary reason that I hear from people in terms of why they chose psychology as a profession is because they want to help people. And pretty much any profession related to psychology is going to involve helping people in some form or another. So what many psychologists do is basically they are actively practicing psychology and seeing patients. So they are treating mental health problems through therapy or clinical work, whatever it might be. They're seeing patients, they're helping them with their issues, and they're helping to improve their mental health. So that's one way that you can apply psychology to basically help people in their everyday life. And this could be a very attractive profession to you because maybe you yourself have experienced mental health issues or you've experienced some kind of trauma in your life, and so you understand what that feels like. And this is something I also hear from people a lot, where they have personally experienced issues within their life, and now they want to give back. They want to basically help people deal with these kinds of problems and help improve others' lives who have experienced similar types of issues. Now, I will say that you do need to be really mentally strong to be able to do this type of job because obviously you're going to be listening to people's problems. You're going to be listening to their life stories. They may tell you things that are very difficult to hear, but it's all in the interest of helping others, of course. So if you are a mentally strong person and you genuinely want to help others, then something along the lines of clinical psychology could be a good fit for you. But of course, there are many professions in psychology that have nothing to do with mental health or basically treating mental illness. many people in the field of psychology help others by conducting scientific research. So if you don't know, psychology is a science. We try to scientifically understand why people do the things that they do, their thought processes, their emotions, etc., etc. So there is a broader science around psychology that you don't necessarily see if we're strictly talking seeing patients and mental health and things like that. So if you go into psychology, you might want to help people by expanding our knowledge of understanding people. It's just as important to have this good, solid foundation of scientific research behind everything that we do when we actually apply psychology in a clinical setting or in some other way. So having that solid foundation of research is really, really important if you want to help people. And lastly, many psychologists end up helping people by teaching their subject, right? Basically spreading the knowledge to other people who want to understand psychology, whether it's through YouTube videos or teaching university classes or whatever it might be. Many people also do teach in some way, shape, or form. So those are just a couple of examples of how you can use psychology to help people, and why, if you're somebody who really does want to actively help people, psychology is a pretty good choice. The third sign that psychology might be a good career choice for you is that you are not afraid of statistics and the abstract. So, like I mentioned in my last point, many people don't realize that psychology is actually a science, and it's actually kind of a challenging subject for a lot of people. Now, you might be a natural and all of this stuff might come super, super easy to you, but I find when I teach my students that a lot of them actually really struggle when it comes to understanding more the scientific aspects and the more mathematical aspects of psychology. So you do need to be really comfortable with this. Psychology does involve a lot of statistics. And what I mean by this is that psychologists use statistical methods to basically analyze their data and conduct science. So if you do end up going into psychology as a profession, you're going to have to take a lot of statistics classes. You'll have to take some as an undergraduate when you get your bachelor's degree, but then you're also going to have to take several as a graduate student. So you do need to kind of get comfortable with this. And statistics is one of those subjects that I find that students struggle with, students are scared of. And it's because it's kind of like learning a whole new language. It's a new way of thinking about the world and about data, if you've even interacted with data at all by that point. So yes, it's a scary subject, but at the same time, once you kind of start picking it up, it's really not actually that bad. It's really more scary at first than once you know a little bit. So please don't let that scare you, but you do need to be comfortable with the thought of pursuing statistics and really taking the time to understand it. Now, to the second point of this, you also do need to be comfortable with the abstract. So what you're going to find out by pursuing a scientific profession is that science is not really clear-cut. Yes, we have answers, but those answers can change depending on further research that comes out and basically debunks previous ideas. So knowledge is always expanding and changing, and that's something that you do need to be comfortable with if you're going to pursue a science like psychology, especially one that deals with abstract concepts like the mind and emotions and thoughts. So basically things that we cannot directly see with a microscope or something like that. We can only observe these things through the behaviors that people exhibit. So there is a lot of abstractness going on here. And the fourth sign that I came up with that psychology might be a good profession for you is that you are willing to go to graduate school. Psychology is one of those professions where if you want to do something in psychology, you really need a graduate degree. And by this I mean either a master's degree or a PsyD or a PhD, so some kind of a graduate degree. If you have a bachelor's in psychology, then that's more of a broad degree where you can actually apply that to a bunch of different professions, but most of the time you're not going to find somebody with just a bachelor's degree working specifically in psychology. And if you do find that, they're usually more on the lower tier of things, and it's going to be very hard for them to really move up as much as they probably would like in their profession. And if you just have a bachelor's degree, then you cannot be a therapist, you cannot be a clinician. Like, these are things that do require higher levels of education. You cannot teach at a university, etc., etc. So you really do need to be comfortable with the notion of at least getting a master's degree and being willing to dedicate, at minimum, 2 more years of your life to get those degrees. And of course, this is a serious question to consider because graduate school takes time and it costs money. I know for myself, I spent 5 years after getting my bachelor's degree, getting my master's degree, and my PhD. And that's on the shorter end. On average, actually, it takes, to my knowledge, about 7 years in the United States to get a PhD after you've completed your bachelor's degree. So that's on average 7 extra years in school to get, that master's degree and that PhD to be able to pursue a profession like this. So it's definitely something to consider. But of course, having these credentials can be really, really rewarding. It can help you get a better job. If you're seeing patients, you're basically running your own business, which is awesome. You can work for a university, which can be a very rewarding profession. There are all these other options that are open to you if you have these credentials. So don't think, oh my gosh, I'm going to spend 5 to 7 years of my life getting my master's and PhD. That's crazy. Yeah, it's kind of crazy, but it's also kind of worth it at the end of the day, depending on what it is that you want to do. So those are a couple of signs that I came up with that could indicate that psychology might be a good profession choice for you. Let me know in the comments down below if you agree with these signs, if there are a couple that I didn't think of, and so on and so forth. I would love to hear from you. Please make sure to give this video a thumbs up if you liked it. It really helps to boost my channel, basically get more viewers in and things like that. Also, ding that notification bell if you'd like to be alerted as to my future uploads. And of course, please go ahead and subscribe if you'd like to see more psychology-related content from me. I will see you all in the next video.